Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Plant Designs, offering custom interior plantscape design and maintenance services for homes and businesses for 50 years with seasonal decor and color rotation programs. Plant Designs, landscaping the great indoors. More at plantdesigns.com.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. All right, our connection this hour is made with that phrase, and I think it was Color Me Bad who had that great song in the 90s. Let's talk about sex. Was it Color Me Bad? Might have been Color Me Bad. I know the 90s. Salt and Pepper. Oh, no, it wasn't Color Me Bad. What was I thinking with Color Me Bad? It was Salt and Pepper. Oh, man. What am I thinking? Producer... Oh, I'm thinking of I Want to Sex You Up. Thank you, producer Megan Mack. We are off the rails 10 seconds into this hour. We are fully off the rails already.
Truly.
Julie Williams knew the Color Me Bad song. Thank you. I Want to Sex You Up is Color Me Bad. Let's talk about sex is Salt and Pepper. Anyway, the theme of the new, we're not talking about Color Me Bad for an hour. We're talking to the team from City Magazine, and their February issue's theme is sex and love. And, love in all different forms. Self-love, friendship, romantic love. And it's the theme there that is going to bring us a lot of great conversation this hour, not just me waxing poetic on old songs. So let me welcome, come on, Leah Stacy, editor-in-chief of City Magazine. You knew the Color Me Bad song, didn't you? I Want to Sex You Up? You know that song,
No.
You don't know that song?
There's a severe gap in my, I don't even know if I want to call that contemporary music knowledge, but... I was raised pretty evangelical and I wasn't allowed to listen to any of that. So I had this learning curve in college where I had to catch up on pop culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I fear that my music taste is usually judged as it's a lot of folk and EDM. I don't know how to explain that.
Okay. Interesting. All right. That was a
two roads diverged into a wood.
Jake, Berto, did you guys know what I was talking about?
Not even close.
You guys are so young, though.
No shot.
I will. Well, hold on. I think I'm out of the young territory now. I think I'm 55, Evan.
Yeah, I don't think you are. You're in your 30s, aren't you?
I am. I'm 32 years old, and I was aware of the song. It's not. I love R&B, but that didn't come across my desk.
No, that wasn't the peak of 90s culture. I will say that.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about music, just briefly, and it's the sex and love issue here. So I've been arguing with people about what Chappell Roan wore to the Grammys. Was that all right with you guys? Did you see that? Leah Stacy, did you see it?
I just looked uncomfortable. I don't have...
That's one way to describe it.
There's no way I'm ever going to shame a woman for wearing what she feels confident in, but she didn't look that confident. And I was like, what if you step on the hem?
Ooh, boy.
Because, ow.
We can't even describe... I don't even think we can describe what... And I don't want people, do not, if you're at work, go look up what Chappell Roan was wearing at the Grammys, on a work computer.
I think most people
This is in public at the Grammys.
I know. Well,
am I a prude?
Did you watch the video where her stylist was in, putting it all together for photos and, moved her hair so that it was almost like a shirt? Or, I guess, suspenders.
Well,
really.
Helpful because there was no shirt. If you're, again, I don't want to leave it. I don't know. Now I'm feeling like I'm the old man yelling at clouds, guys. Did you see this?
That's okay. I watched the Grammys, yeah. I don't think that... I wasn't paying too much attention to the wardrobe, but I think if you put Chappell in front of a teleprompter, things are going to feel stiff because she's a very off-the-cuff speaker. I think she's very eloquent on her own, and I felt like
For sure she is.
I think the prompter... I think she was almost winking at the fact that she was being prompted, she had to read off of a script. That's kind of how I was reading it. I don't know.
She wore two different outfits. You might be thinking of the latter.
Oh,
I went to bed early too.
We're definitely talking about the same one.
Oh, Leah and I are talking about the same one. Yeah. Okay. All right. What a start to this hour.
Good Grammys this year, though. You guys want to talk about the Grammys?
Good Grammys. Yeah, really good. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched a lot of outtakes, and it was an excellent show. For once.
Grammys.
Okay, so now let's get back out, and I always start with the editor, the letters editor, and Leah tells some stories here. You really do have potentially a book of bad date stories.
You know some of these more in depth.
When I was in my 30s, I have some bad date stories that are pretty heroically bad. Mm-hmm. But I think you've topped it. Just reading the little tidbits that you shared with your readers here.
And I don't even know if I'd call them bad. Just some of them are just interesting. I had this phrase when I was in that era. I would just say for the plot. Like I'm gonna say yes to this date for the plot. I'm gonna drive to the
Like
Catskills
knowing it probably
for the
is
plot.
not. You drove to the Catskills.
I sure did.
That is a commute for a date, by the way.
It was a beautiful drive. It was like October. Well, because we were coming out of the pandemic, you couldn't really do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
You had to
Just-
like get together in your own spaces, or so many dates outside. So many picnic dates.
Yeah, outdoor dates.
Yeah.
There was a nice gentleman who had known you for 2 hours and tried to kiss you. That's fast.
Oh God.
Wow.
That's fast.
It really was one of those like movie moments when you're like maneuvering to like dodge it, and it's just so awkward.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, that didn't last. That didn't work out.
No.
There wasn't a second date.
I still see him around.
But there wasn't
He's
a second
nice.
date there. Wasn't a second date.
No.
No, I mean that's confident. Guys, do you have bad date stories?
Well, but was it
No.
confident or was it?
No, Jake's got no bad date stories.
No, I don't.
No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been,
This is a silent side of the table.
I've been wifed up. You know, I've been wifed up. So
Yeah.
yeah, my first date was a Pizza Hut because we were teenagers.
Oh my God,
so-
that's so wholesome.
That's awesome.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. Did you have like those like plastic, like stained glass cups that they had?
funny you should say that. That is the thing that happened. My wife is more embarrassed about it than I am. But first date, big red plastic cup. She knocked it over, water everywhere, and I hit her with the "You nervous?"
Oh my God, Berto.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if you know this,
and in
You are
hindsight,
you
that
so
know
was-
she
smooth.
can handle it.
yeah.
You are so smooth.
Yeah, and it was in hindsight, what a weird thing to say. Kind of, I mean, we were friends though, so we were friends first, so there was rapport. But it was just like, I'm not. You drove me here, so this is it is what it is. But to say no bad dates.
That's fantastic, Berto. Leo, why is this the theme now? I mean, obviously it's Valentine's Day month. People think about that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
why sex and love now?
I think we were trying to get a little creative with the themes this year, have a little fun with them. I kept saying like spicy enough that if, one of your kids picked this up off the stands, you would not be able to have a conversation about anything, right? Because we keep in mind this is a free publication that's all around the city, but also just, I think for us and the contributors to have a little fun. And I believe, Jake, you'll know this probably better, but there was content like this before me, but the themes kind of started when I started. So I don't know that there's ever been a full issue like this. So we just thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the least Jake's ever talked. This
What do
is
you mean?
fantastic. Talk sex and love and Jake's just nothing to say. It's fantastic.
What? I had to agree. It's all true. It's yeah.
No, it's a range of stories, of course. Shout out to our colleague Noelle Evans, who profiled Stephanie Woodward and talks about. Hopefully, our listeners know, and you picked up the podcast, the Move to Include podcast. But the idea of marriage equality is not equal in the disability community, and so really good stuff there. I also really enjoyed the conversation with Eleni Economides, who is someone who I've never had on Connections, but someone who's been on the radar for someone who would be a really smart voice as we talk about some of these issues.
Yeah.
So I've never met Eleni Economides, but this is an official invitation right here for Eleni.
I was going to say that if that Q&A didn't convince you, then
No, it's really good. So
Yeah.
just someone who is a therapist and has built a practice of being able to talk about sex, making people feel comfortable, really working through challenges in a lot of different ways that couples will have, that individuals will have. So really smart, really good stuff there. Berto, what were you up to in this issue?
I shot the Peep Show article on Mutoscopes and also shot the photos for the Noelle Evans, Stephanie Woodward shoot. So I got to kind of get a peek inside that life and how incredible Stephanie is, and just also how cute her kids are. Of course.
Amazing group of kids. And by the way, on the Peep Show stuff, we're going to be talking to Justin Murphy coming up at 1:30, and you see him there doing the peeping. There's if you're watching on YouTube, we're showing you some of Berto's work there. And so we're going to kind of go back in time and Justin's got a lovely piece. Such a good writer. Really, really appreciated that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Matt Rogers at 1:40. Who came up with the headline, Staying Abreast of the Law?
Okay, that was me.
That was yours.
And Matt fully endorsed it.
Because the piece is about what?
About some lawmakers, some law changers. I mean, I really want him to
The
tell
legal
you
right
more
to be
about it.
topless.
Yeah,
The legal right to
the
be
top
topless.
free movement is, I think, the official term.
Oh,
Top free.
Yeah, but it always goes back to Rochester, right? Like we've had a hand in so many major movements. I love that we're such a political city. I really do.
We got Frederick Douglass, Susan B. Anthony, and top free movement.
Yeah. What else do you need?
I will
That's
say-
history right there.
I will say, the piece explores some questions about why we have either taboos or fascinations or why we get hung up on stuff. And of course, there was me talking about Chapel Roan like it was some sort of a scandal.
That wasn't planned.
No. And it
You're
wasn't a
playing into your
scandal.
own
I don't
hand
think
here.
I just don't think I don't think it's a scandal. I'm just more looking at this going, number one, yes, very uncomfortable. Number two, like, wow. That's just no imagination required anymore. Fashion is interesting. I want to get paid to
Fashion
design
is
fashion.
interesting.
Like I want to get to be a fashion designer for the stars, and I want them to pay me a lot of money, and I don't even have to come up with them. Just like, you're going to be nude.
Evan, I did not realize you aspired to be
There was
fashion
some,
designer.
I
there
don't.
was
Stars.
like
don't.
a tiny bit of nuance. I will argue for some nuance there.
No, there's nuance.
I mean, we're talking about it, so it worked.
Yeah,
Did work.
I guess that's part of it here. There's certain things that we will not have time to talk. I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about the rom-com stuff, but I love Joe Lester's piece on rom-com.
Well, I think maybe you guys might do something on that later.
We're gonna get Joe on a
Yeah.
different day talking rom-coms. But just as a brief tease to that here, what I love is Joe is so smart, such a good reviewer of art, and
So great.
if this is like, if you love this movie, then try this, and it's a great way to do recommendations because not everybody loves every kind of rom-com. Some you're like yes, some no. Defending Your Life, the best ever,
Yeah.
which Joe didn't mention, but we'll fight about that later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
I don't know that one.
really good piece. You don't know Defending Your Life?
No.
I've never seen that either.
1991, I think Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep,
Oh, we love Meryl.
and Rip Torn. The concept is Albert Brooks is driving a car and he has a new CD player because it's the 90s. And He's
Wow.
got a CD player in the car and it's a big deal.
That's
And he
awesome.
drops some CDs and he looks down to pick them up while he's driving and he looks up and there's a semi coming and the next shot you see is him being wheeled into the afterlife.
Whoa.
And he's going to Judgment City and he has to defend his life on the basis of living it with good judgment and no fear.
That was a
Wow.
real theme in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We should bring that back.
What happens after you die?
Catholic
There's
panic.
consequences.
I think we've got plenty of Christian panic happening currently.
Rip Torn, who's good at everything. Rip Torn, the late Rip Torn, plays his attorney. The universe installs attorneys to defend your life in a trial. And there's a prosecutor and there's a defense attorney. And Rip Torn's explaining this to Albert Brooks, who's like in shock, of course. And Rip Torn says to him, I use 49% of my brain. Do you know how much you use? And Albert Brooks says 48%. He goes, 3. And the whole purpose is advancing in the universe and using more of your brain. But it becomes a romantic comedy. He meets Meryl Streep, and Meryl Streep's great in everything, and she's great in that movie. And there you go. I don't want to tell you too much. Everybody should go see Defending Your Life, and everybody should read Joe Lester's piece because everything Joanna Lester writes is great for City, and that's a fun piece, and we're going to talk about that on a different day here. So all
And
of that.
she's going to keep doing movie content and some TV content. And she's working on another fun piece for March. So stay tuned.
And I think we're going to have Abby and Chris coming up here in just a second. Megan Mack, is that right? I think we're going to have Abby and Chris coming up here in just a second. Oh, we're working on that too. So before we get Abby Quattro here, who's a food and beverage writer, food and beverage, in an issue on sex and love. What do you think, Leah?
This was
Make the connection
completely
here.
Abby's idea. We were actually at a birthday party and, it was like not a work talk thing. And she was just like, wait, I keep forgetting to email you, but I've got this idea. And so Berto graciously let her live in the photo essay section for this one. We wanted to, we don't always get to highlight chefs who don't work in like traditional restaurant settings. And so that was a real goal here, was to highlight some folks who have maybe more non-traditional roles, but are still doing really cool stuff right now.
And Abby Quattro is with us, a food and beverage photography and marketing professional and contributor to City Magazine. Abby, welcome back to you.
Hello, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you. And we've got Chris Cullen as well, the chef and owner at Work in Progress Pop-Up and a forthcoming restaurant that I'm not going to try to pronounce. I'm going to have Chris do it. Hello, Chris Cullen.
I am Dawson. It's nice to meet you virtually.
Nice to meet you. It's restaurant. Is it Damas?
Restaurant Damus.
Damus.
Yeah,
Damus.
but
Damus.
you're gonna be in the majority of people that mispronounce it. We're very cruel what we're doing.
So we're going to talk to Chris more in just a moment here. I want Abby to kind of set this up because Abby pitches this to Leah for the sex and love issue. And you write some really interesting stuff about the kind of the flip side, the dichotomy, the kind of the mirror image that the diners are out when you're going out to eat to, enjoy what might be a romantic setting, to connect with people, to really feel good, to kind of get away. If you're the chef, it's like the flip side. There's nothing really romantic about it. It's a lot of hard work. And I want you to take me through why you pitched it in this way and what you want your readers and to kind of come away with here, Abby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just broadly speaking, I really like to kind of go against the grain a little bit in terms of what I'm capturing, even if it is kind of in the food and beverage universe. So kind of looking at, the trope of the chef being this, bad, sexy, covered in tattoos, holding a large knife, big pieces of meat. I kind of wanted to go against the grain a little bit of that because while all of those are real things and they exist and we all watched The Bear and we all had the feelings that we had, it's not the whole picture. Because food, as much as it is, this industry of grit, is also something that's nurturing and wholesome and lovely and seductive in a softer way. And, it's so tied into the fabric of our being. And I wanted to explore a little bit of the softer, a little bit of the more delicate, a little bit of the, the yearning, the why behind why we get into this industry and why it keeps us. And that, is a different story for every chef, but I think it's also a bigger story than just the surface of, chefs, musicians, they're all badass. We all want them. So just kind of peeling back those layers was something fun. And Leah graciously always just lets me run wild. So
Because I know you're going to crush it.
I mean, every editor needs people that you go, whatever they do is going to be great.
That's so true.
And here's Abby. And
The A-team.
The piece is titled, Yes, Chef, Why We Fixate on and Fetishize Those Behind the Line. And Chris Cullen, what do you make of Abby's framing of how we think about chefs?
Yeah, I think she's spot on. The food world has become this very chef-driven industry. I think we suffer from the same sort of cult of personality that took over the art world when, it was the Warhol days. And it's nice to hear a fresh take that's like a little bit less about the flashy chef personalities and a little bit more about the real work that's going on. And the truth of the matter is that dining out is all about the guest experience. And I think moving forward, you're going to see chefs try to figure out how to take themselves out of the equation a little bit more and foster an environment that's just really guest focused.
Chris, I also think it's important that we know a little bit about your background because this is your first introduction to our audience. And you've got this really remarkable resume, having worked at Lento first, then New York City, the UK, Berlin. Now you're in the Finger Lakes. Can you give us a little flavor about where you've been?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up Lento. Shout out to Art Rogers. I remember being a teenager working in his kitchen and listening to Connections for the first time.
Wow.
He's one of the
That's
best
awesome.
chefs in Rochester. He's one of the best chefs in Rochester. Everyone should go visit Lento. It's a great restaurant. And he's doing sexy food if we're talking about the sex issue. So he was kind of one of my first mentors and helped me start my career, which took me to New York. As you said, I worked for 4 years under Chef Repair, and then COVID hit, and so it kind of bounced around a little bit. We did a few pop-ups in Rochester, and then eventually I landed in Berlin cooking a small little 8-seat counter Japanese European hybrid cuisine. Really, really nice, farmer focused tasting menu. And so bringing it back to the Finger Lakes now, very exciting to be in this area where the farming is just as good as it was in Berlin, which is, the home of biodynamics. So it's been amazing to see how good the agriculture is in this area.
I love the way your work is described here. His menus are assembled like puzzles, shaped by the exact conditions of a given week. What keeps his ego in check is how fast the work disappears. Yesterday doesn't buy him anything. Every service resets the stakes. I love that idea, and I want to ask Abby a little bit about that here. I remember, I mean, this is going to sound cliche, but it's absolutely true. The first time I ever went to Europe, I was in Italy, in a town called Montalcino, and bumped into a chef, went to a restaurant the next day for the afternoon. I didn't know that everybody actually does just take a nap in small town Italy. And I'm like, well, everyone's asleep except for me. And then I bumped into the chef walking down the street, and we stopped in and had a glass of wine. And he talked about how you've got about 10 days with certain ingredients, and you got to make the most of it. And then you got to not sort of peacock about how great it was, because it's gone and you're on to the next. And I just thought that was so interesting to think about how fleeting it is. You want to elaborate a little bit on that concept, Abby? I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is kind of what sets Chris apart specifically, is that the, farm to table is not a new concept. It's, focus on local ingredients is not a new concept. That's something that, you see splattered across every menu. But who actually lives and breathes it, the only person that comes to mind is Chris. And he's done work in the Finger Lakes with farmers, building relationships, understanding the very, very teeny tiny rhythms of this microclimate that we live in, and has taken that to another level of exalting these ingredients and operating on an ingredient first mentality. And yeah, that is something that is very Italian. You have this beautiful ingredient, your job as the chef is to not mess it up. And while that sounds simple, there's so much that goes into that. Having flavors that present clean, true, perfect is oftentimes so much harder than, we'll throw this in there, we'll throw that in there, we'll, layer. So what you get is this kind of distilled and beautiful expression of the area and also the ingredient. And, the chef leaving as little mark as possible is harder and also so much more beautiful. So that was really fun to kind of take a peek into the reverse engineering, I guess.
Well, before I let both of you go, there's something that's been on my mind that I think you both can maybe speak to, because I think the presence of Abby's piece in this issue on Sex and Love in City Magazine really does speak to how food can be sensual. It can be a really sort of, a chance for people to be together. I mean, again, not to be cliche, but cooking together can be a really beautiful and romantic thing. And it can be a great way for couples to connect. And maybe producer Megan Mack can bail me out here, because I've seen this piece shared in the last week so many times, but it's always a snippet in social media. I hate when people share like a passage from a piece, but they don't link you to it. So I don't know who wrote the piece. But there's a piece that's been shared everywhere on people in their 20s and 30s who don't have kids and are despairing about the future. They're choosing not to have kids, and they're so despairing. They've got a cabinet full of ingredients, but one person is spending $700 a month on DoorDash, talking about how he just wants to stay on the couch and have someone else do it, not move. And he's in a relationship. They don't cook together. And everybody's like, whoa, this is dark. This is how dark are things in this country that even when you've got the ingredients, you're struggling to pay your rent because you're blowing up the budget on DoorDash. You don't want to cook on your own. You don't want to cook with your partner. You don't want to cook with your romantic partner. You don't want to go out to eat. And it just feels so isolating. And food is an opportunity to be together. And I don't, of all the things I've read in the last month, Chris, about, things are a little fraught right now, that kind of depressed me the most. It's what are we doing here? No offense to DoorDash, by the way. I mean, no offense to any of that stuff. But to do it every night when you could be cooking, when you could be learning new things, when you could be experiencing new things with a partner, or at least going out to eat and appreciating the work of someone else, it feels like we're choosing to isolate in ways that I think are dark and concerning. Am I overlooking that? Am I overreacting, Chris?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of factors that are going into what you're talking about. I myself go to shop at the local supermarket, and the produce sucks. It's not good. There's large economic forces that are driving bad food into our diets. And so it's not inspiring to go to the grocery store and come up with something to cook yourself for dinner. And we've become so disconnected from where our food comes from that I'm not surprised you see the rise in DoorDash and the ease and the convenience of, modern delivery services. We have to get back to really great products, and that starts with highlighting our farmers. If we can do that, I think you'll find more inspiration and more desire to cook and consume in ways that we'll feel good about.
Abby, what do you think?
I love that so much. I mean, there's a myriad of factors to why the instinct is to order DoorDash, or you feel too fatigued to cook with your partner or cook for yourself. And, everyone works through weight differently, the weight of the world. But I think that there's so much joy to be had in cooking, even if you don't want to be the one cooking for yourself, cooking for someone else who is in need, building those relationships, like Chris was saying, with your farmers is what could be better for the community. So it is kind of funny that all of this softness is tied into the sexiness of cooking, but I think it's important getting back to the roots of it, the whys of it. That's how you find the joy.
And Chris, before we let you go, tell people what you are up to now and what might be or what is coming next for you.
Yeah, we're really excited to start Work in Progress 3.0 this summer. We finally have a permanent location on the east side of Seneca Lake that we're renovating into the restaurant, which will be open in spring of 27. And this summer, we're going to invite people out to the property and do a little sort of garden series on the weekends, in the process of building an outdoor grill and some like picnic tables and lanterns and stuff. And we're just going to do a really simple countryside farmhouse supper on the weekend. So if people want to follow along, our Instagram and our mailing lists are going to be the places to get updates on that.
Chris Cullen, thanks for joining us. Let's talk again at length in the future, and we can sit down together. I'd love that.
Cheers, Evan. I appreciate it.
Great stuff. And Abby Quattro, there is a reason that Leah just lets you go wild. I mean, I get it. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, we've got listeners who are in food and bev, because I got hit with a couple of texts and emails right away. People know the piece I was talking about. It does come from the New York Times Cooking. Kevin Caldwell and his husband spend $700 a week ordering in. A week. And he says, I'm so burned out. Kevin says that he and his husband are so burned out and tired, we'd rather just throw credit cards at the problem. And the picture from the New York Times, there's these beautiful copper pots hanging behind them, totally unused on the wall. And you're like, oh no, like, they could be cooking every night, like guys. But hey, I'm not going to police their marriage. I'm just saying that's a concerning sign here. We're talking sex and love. That's City Magazine's issue for February. It's out now. And talking about some of the themes here. We got to get our only break in. We're going to come back and we're bringing in journalist Justin Murphy, who's written a piece for City, and talking with the team there. Jake, Berto, Leah, all here. We'll come right back on Connections.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Mary Cariola Center, supporting residents to become active members of the community, from developing life skills to gaining independence. Mary Cariola Center, transforming lives of people with disabilities. More online at marycariola.org.
This is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Berto, how long would it take you to spend $700 a week or $700 on DoorDash? You could not do it in a week. There's no way, man.
You chose the wrong person to ask. Absolutely, I could. I could probably do it in 5 days. I could do it in 5 days.
Food? You have all these interesting sensibilities.
Absolutely, and I also love junk food. So I could blow through $700.
Oh.
Where's that $700 coming from? Because if it's not
Also
mine,
true, yeah.
challenge accepted.
Yeah,
that's
that's
easy.
the problem. It's
No,
the bank
your
account.
money.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no,
No way.
no,
It's
shot.
exactly right.
No way.
Couldn't do it.
That's exactly right. Okay. All right. I'm off that subject. We'll talk about more of that another day. There's too many other things to talk about. And I'm going to read. Leah Stacy, will you intro Justin Murphy's piece? And then I'm going to read a little bit from it, because I was talking to producer Megan Mack for the hour. It's like, oh, this is so well
I
written.
got to talk about
This is so good.
the secret part of this assignment that didn't really pan out, that Berto and I have been trying to get in an issue for a while, because we heard a rumor that the Eastman Museum, and maybe you know this, Evan, They will neither confirm nor deny, vaguely. I know, tell her friend Danielle. But we've heard there's a large porn archive there.
A porn archive at the
Like
a secret porn archive.
Like vintage porn. And whatever
like tasteful
that means.
porn from the back in the day.
I think what we're about to talk about is probably the tasteful porn.
Okay.
Porn, in quotation marks. But we initially reached out to Eastman because of that. And Justin is another one of my go-to freelancers. Like, I know even if he doesn't pitch something and I have an idea that's kind of on the table, needs a good writer, I can send it to him, which is the case with this piece. And I can say, and I know he's like excels with history, right? Like just so good at digging into this stuff. And so I sent him this idea because this is what Eastman came back to us with. So it's a little less spicy than what we were hoping for, but it's still such a great story. And I had no idea these existed there.
I mean, are you disappointed in what they came back to with Berto?
Hey, I'm not disappointed. I'm just saying it wasn't exactly.
It wasn't what we were
expected.
hoping for because we were like, oh, that'd be such a good story.
Yeah.
This is still a good
This is
story.
still a
too.
good
So great,
story.
yeah. And also, I didn't know these existed either. So it was pretty wild. Plus, you put me in the technology vault. They had to
Yeah.
pry me out of there. They're like, hey, we're here for the mutoscopes, and I was like, I want all these cameras.
He said mutoscope. The piece is
Oh.
called Peep Show, and I'm going to read from Justin's work here. The year is 1900. You're a Rochester boy old enough to ride the streetcars, and you've got a few nickels in your pocket. Where to go? There's the ballpark on Culver Road, or the races at Driving Park. You could ride up to the beach if the weather is good, or down to the South Avenue bathhouses if it isn't. Or, if your taste runs toward the risque, you could slink downtown to the Clinton Avenue Moving Picture Parlor. You'll know you've arrived as soon as you turn the corner and hear the mechanical banjo strumming maniacally over clanging carnival games. Don't get distracted, though. Press on to the real prize, a long line of gleaming mutoscope machines, each one offering a few flickering seconds of delight. They could be showing reenacted boxing matches or sensationalized scenes from the headlines. Be honest, though. You're not here for the news. You scan the cardboard placards for the promise of something special. The corset model, a dressing room scene, 2 girls in a hammock, the way French bathing girls bathe. There's something to dream on. You drop your penny into the slot, mash your eye against the lens, and turn the crank until the real whirls choppily into motion. A shapely bare ankle, white skin gleaming, rackets into focus. Before you know it, 60 seconds have passed and the machine shudders to a stop. You dig another coin from your pocket and plunk it in. Ain't life grand? I mean, if that's what he turned in, Leo, I'm going to ask in a
That
second.
is what he
You don't
turned in.
even need an editor. He turned that in like without it.
No, Justin's work is lightly edited at it's like I'm like finding AP style stuff, but no, he's got a whole vibe. We love it.
Justin, you should write about history. That's like a thing.
Evan, you read that in a little bit more of a lecherous tone of voice.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't wholesome enough for you.
Magazine, Evan.
So, take me just through a little bit of how much you knew about this before the assignment, Justin, and if the answer is nothing or next to nothing, where do you go to learn this stuff?
Oh, I didn't know. You mean about the mutoscopes?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. Oh, I didn't know anything about the mutoscopes. Like Berto said, it was awesome going down there. They have all the, like, every old camera or whatever that you could think of, but they call it an Iron Horse, this big mutoscope machine. And it's basically just a mechanized flip book. And, you put your nickel in, and what's in between you and the eyepiece is nobody else's business.
That's true.
And it was awesome. They're great.
When did the mutoscopes go away? Do we know that, Justin?
Yeah, well, so they had an initial extremely short life as like the actual cutting edge of motion picture technology. It may be like the 1890s, and obviously they were like immediately eclipsed. But because they're, I think, fairly easy to produce the reels, because it's not like a film reel, it's just a series of still images that flip through. And because of like the nature of the machine, which is individualized, and the like looking at it through a lens, it lent itself perfectly to this kind of I mean, like a peep show, like a carnival sideshow thing where you could have an arcade or you can have a boardwalk or like whatever kind of like tawdry fun situation. And it's a perfect fit for that. And so I think through the 30s and maybe even into the 40s, they were like fairly common in those settings.
Yeah, this kind of, for me, is such an interesting way to think about how life has changed. So, Berto, I'm looking at some of the images and thinking about this, and then I'm reading the piece in City with therapist Eleni Economides, who talks about how a lot of people struggle with sex these days because porn is so ubiquitous. It's so easy to find, and people get sort of these stilted views on like what sex and relationships are supposed to be. But boy, in 1900, that is a totally different world. Kids who grown up today have no idea how different things were. What did you see there? I mean, like, did you enjoy this assignment? Like, was it still fun?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mainly because, I mean, you're entering like through history. I mean, there's just you're photographing history, but you're also walking by so much as well. So you just are like reminded like how much of a gem the gem is. And like, honestly, this like experience seeing, a snapshot in time literally of like, hey, we were shown some examples which are too fragile to be shown. And they kind of progressively got
too fragile,
too
risque.
No, more like physically fragile.
Physically fragile.
So like they have like the one that Justin's looking at here it's meant for like demonstration, but like the reel that's in there. But the other ones, they're being preserved and in the process of being essentially archived like digitally, so more people can eventually experience them. But to see the progression of the risqueness, right? Like it's it starts pretty. I mean, they're all PG. They're all PG.
It's all tame.
Yeah, but like it's funny to see like what they consider like as it starts to evolve by decade or year or whatever. It's like, this one, it's just women in a changing room, and they're all pretty much. I mean, they're all clothed, but like they're just in a changing room. So it's like, oh, at that time, this was kind of no one's in there, so this is so wild. But then it's like the next one, it's practically the same thing, but it's like maybe a little bit more ankle, right? Like things get a little spicier, and it's like it's just funny to see what was considered kind of out of pocket at the time.
Yeah, Justin, was it considered like bad public etiquette to be one of the people who went to these peep shows, or were they pretty common?
I don't think they weren't common. Like there's one on every street corner. I could only find an example of one motion picture parlor in Rochester that advertised having these things. But I mean, they were common enough that this company, the American Mutoscope Company or whatever it was called, put out like hundreds and hundreds of reels. And, like they didn't last very long because like Berto said, they were kind of physically fragile. So they had to, like they produced them in huge quantities. Was it a little seedy to be the one going up to the French bathing girls mutoscope? I mean, yeah, it's got to be. It would be seedy now, right?
Yeah.
But probably the smart move would have been to take the like news clip card and put it on the French bathing girls card and like cover your tracks and then just stay there all day.
You're just assuming, anyway. Yeah.
That's right.
By the way, there was nothing that people were seeing in these mutoscopes that looked like Chaperone at the Grammys. I'm just going to say.
Oh my God, you are
Yeah.
stuck
That's a
on
callback.
Chaperone.
It's a callback.
A lot more
Tying
ankles.
it all together.
Yeah.
From what I saw,
Bare ankles.
Yeah.
A lot of bare ankles,
ankles.
right?
And like woman behind something. I don't know what it was, but
Like a changing screen.
Sort of, yeah. So it's like you're seeing arm and maybe a little bit of leg, and things were getting. It got spicy.
Well, Justin, this is the last thing I ever thought we'd be talking about in Connections with you, but this was a lot of fun, man. Thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
Justin Murphy. I mean, that is a great piece of writing.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
is a great piece
Yeah,
of
no,
writing.
I'm so happy with this issue. I think people really, everyone took their assignment and just like had fun slash like took it seriously, even though it's like a lighter topic. It was like, no, let's dig in. And you know what? We could use that right now.
No, 100%. Hey, let me grab before we get to our next guest, Barbara in Brighton wants to jump in on this on the phone. Hi, Barbara. Go ahead.
Hi there. I just thought you'd get a kick out of knowing that my grandparents were vaudevillian folks, and they toured all over the country and all over Europe. Very famous. Their most famous dance was called the Vampire. It's featured in a half-hour silent film at the Eastman collection, and she was arrested for wearing diaphanous costumes in 1913. So that was quite a long way after, and they were still having fits. So I just thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Hold on, Barbara. Who at the table can place the word diaphanous? All right, you're gonna me neither. All right, Barbara, you're gonna have to explain diaphanous.
Well, it just means practically see-through. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
And she's the vampire that comes out of the woods in this dance, and he's marching around, and he ends up upside down and backwards on the rock when she's biting his neck, and I mean it goes on, but it's just a wonderful example of the Comstock laws, if you can believe it, which were used to arrest her, and the judge said, "Don't be ridiculous," and released them immediately. But that's what was going on.
That's a good judge.
Barbara, thank you. Thank you for
welcome.
Barbara is. Listeners don't know that's like one of our great historians locally, and that's such a good story.
That's awesome. 1913. I wasn't even born yet.
Me neither.
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't think any of us were.
Oh,
Evan's face right now.
I wasn't sure.
Thank you, Berto.
Are you guys aware of what year it is?
Thank you, Berto. Yeah, it's like 1958, right?
Yeah, right.
Feels that way.
Okay. All right, let's just pretend like this is going really well. We're going to go to the next guest here. No, I mentioned earlier that I love this headline, and Leah Stacy, this was yours here. So it's Staying Abreast of the Law. Matt Rogers is going to be joining us here. Tell me a little bit about this assignment before we talk to Matt.
This was Matt's pitch. He, with the Lost Borough, which is his excellent blog, and he does fringe shows about local history. He digs into these topics quite frequently, and I always love when I see a pitch from Matt in my call.
So, by the way, Matt's illustration for the piece would also be way too risque for the Mutascope. But here we are.
Way too.
Matt Rogers, welcome. How's it going?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
You pitched this story. What do you want readers to understand about how we can keep abreast of the law here?
It was a unique call for pitches. When I saw the theme for this month's edition, I thought, okay, I might be able to tie this into local history, and that's what I always look to do. And I thought, well, this is kind of a unique opportunity to, talking about love and sex. And, we're not San Francisco. Summer of Love didn't happen here. We're not Indiana with the Kinsey Institute and Alfred Kinsey. But we do have a part to play in this kind of conversation and a unique event that happened here in Rochester that allows for New York State to legally protect those who choose to go topless, regardless of what gender you are.
Okay, so you take through a little bit of the history here, and there's different there's different sort of advocacy groups here. But is there any sort of central idea? Is it that we are too prude about the human body? Is it that we overly sexualize women when, as you write in the piece, breasts serve as obviously an important function for raising children, for nutrition? I mean, is there a central theme that typically comes along with this kind of advocacy?
It was just, kind of establishing the role of breasts. I know this is, there's ironies upon ironies here from a cisgender guy that started a business printing on T-shirts promoting the idea that people shouldn't wear them. But it's one of those things where you talk about love and sex, and inevitably breasts become part of that conversation. And there's just been an almost kind of centuries-long debate as to what role they play. And legally speaking, a lot of times they get pun intended, lumped into genitalia, where biologically they don't serve a purpose in reproduction. They don't serve a purpose in creating a human, yet there's still kind of public sensibilities, perceptions, and historical contexts that kind of muddy the waters on what role they play. I mean, there's been cultures and societies where it's been grievously taboo to show your chest versus it being completely practical and commonplace. So it's just kind of this, wanted to establish a premise on what we can, what I'm arguing and defending on what breasts are and what role they serve, and that here in Rochester, there was a very similar debate, and a few activists, they were known as the Top Free Seven, Mary Lou Sloas and Ramona Santorelli were kind of the leaders of that group, but there was, the advocacy group you mentioned, there was CLAW, which was challenging laws against women, which eventually turned into the Top Free Coalition that involved other groups. And in 1986, they held kind of a civil disobedient act in Cobbs Hill Park, and then they were arrested, which they intended for, and it led to a trial. And, I go on talk about, how they were acquitted, but not for the reason they wanted to, because they were trying to go for a different constitutional amendment instead of the first one. And then a couple of years of other acts where, they held a larger picnic in Genesee Valley Park. They did a couple walks, one in Seneca Falls. And then in 1992, there was the kind of landmark court case decision. So just wanted to share a little bit of kind of unique history in a unique way in a unique issue.
What we need, Leah Stacy, is just more guys talking about this issue.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add to the interview portion to help us out a little bit here?
No, I mean, I think that, again, everybody who was part of this issue, who worked on it, regardless of their gender or pronouns, I'm so happy with all the work that they did on this issue, because it has been... I have to tell you, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive on this issue. And this was one I was like, okay, like some people might have mixed feelings about this, but even right before I came into the studio, I got a really nice note from someone I've never met, a reader who was raving about Abby's story. And I think it's an issue that I'm very happy with. I also really like the nuance of the cover. Shout out to Jake for that.
Yeah, Jake.
Hello, it's my turn.
Just pass the ball to you.
I don't have much to say. No, just kidding. Thank you. Should we talk about the cover art a little bit?
Well, let me say goodbye to Matt, and I'll just say...
Oh, my God, Matt. Matt. Hold on, Matt.
I'll say this if you're still there, Matt. So,
yes.
Again,
sorry.
We're all just telling stories that we never thought you'd tell on the air. But when I was a 17-year-old camp counselor at a YMCA camp, summer camp, it was staff week. We're putting the dock in the lake. And everyone's working. We're just working. And the day ends. It's been a lot of hard work. And I'm just up like in the staff quarters. And one of the Swedish exchange counselors, who's also 17, walks right past me and takes off her top when she's changing. And I immediately was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'll get out of here. And she turns, she goes, oh, you are such an American, aren't you? And I was like, whoa.
Yep.
That was not what I was expecting in the moment. But she was making fun of my squeamishness or my attempt to try to be modest, and she thought it was kind of funny. So it was a reminder to me early on, like, culture is different in different places, man, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of, I wanted to kind of address that as well. And one of the opinions that last court case where they wrote, it really talks about that perception and public sensibility as not a basis for all law. But to reinforce Leah's point, as a straight cisgender guy, it's not I took a very narrow path on this to provide history and a little biology.
No, you did a great job.
My own background.
Yeah. You did a great job, and it was educational. It's interesting. Good work. Really appreciate you popping out on the program today, Matt. Thanks for making time.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, so Jake, the cover art here, you always do great covers.
Oh, thank you.
But take us home here. Like, this is, it's sex and love issue. It's a little tricky. What did you decide to do here?
First things first, I would like to shout out Matt for providing his art and working with me on that. I had him, we went through a couple of different rounds on that, but his idea was really solid, and I'm very grateful that he was able to contribute art along with the writing. I think that's really cool when that can happen. Mm-hmm. As far as the cover art, Like Leah said earlier, this is a magazine that you can kind of happen upon no matter what age you are, or if you are there with kids. So you don't want to put something terribly graphic on the cover. There's 40,000 of these, around the region. So it was a design challenge, I guess, is one way to put it, to communicate a sense of sensuality, and I guess titillation is a word that kept coming up a lot. And to that end, I found, I used images of things that could communicate that sort of thing initially, and it was a little bit unsettling, and we went through a couple of rounds of this, but it was just a big picture of skin with goosebumps, and that was kind of the idea that we were moving forward with, sort of the physical sensation that goes along with the themes covered in this issue. And then, we went through a couple of different rounds of it, and you can see it all over the place. And if you look a little closely at the background artwork there, some of the ornaments, I tricked myself because when I picked it up, I was like, oh my God, I forgot to put February 2026 and Sex and Love on it. And then I remembered, oh no, I hid them a little bit in there. So there's like a touch of an Easter egg. It's kind of obvious, but I like this one, and I really enjoy. I tried to invoke a sense of like psychedelia in the background pattern.
Yeah, so definitely some of that.
A little bit.
So a lot of great feedback, as Leah said, for this issue of City Magazine. February issue is Sex and Love. It's out now, wherever you find your city, and find it now. Great stuff. We didn't even get through all of it, by the way. We never do.
No.
So here we are.
But they can pick it up, and it'll all be online at some point. So
online where, by the way, Leah?
RockCityMag.com.
RockCityMag.com. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Berto.
Thanks, Evan.
Leah
Thank you.
Stacy, for you and the whole team. Great work here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And from all of us at Connections, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching wherever you are. We'll find you tomorrow on member-supported public media.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.